Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Heritage. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the fossil hominid sites of South Africa. Which, that's a mouthful, but the
That's
fancy way
right.
of talking about that is proto-humans. The missing links,
Yeah.
so to speak, between our ape ancestors and humans. Spoiler alert, the world is older than 4,000 years old, and there were species before humans.
And
Yeah.
that's right, folks.
Yeah.
We are no longer historical
Yeah.
humans right now. We are prehistoric
Prehistorical
hominids.
humans.
Yeah. Yeah. The prehistorical hominids. Here we go. Um, in the ever-expanding realm of things we will do for your entertainment, we have now come to a World Heritage Site, which is actually a series of World Heritage Sites in South Africa that have one thing in common. They are all key locations. I believe there are 5 of them, wherein we have found very compelling evidence for different species of proto-humans. Uh, and by that, we mean someone mined one of their bones out of like a limestone quarry.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. They were quarrying and had come across human remains. And this UNESCO site specifically is actually a series of sites or a serialized site in that it's consistent of a number of different locations where proto-human remains have been found, pre-human. Some of these that were found were the subspecies Australopithecus, which we can tie back both modern great apes and modern humans to. It is one of the final connector species before we branched off into different separate subspecies. It,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, like the question of if humans and monkeys came from the same place, why are there still monkeys?
yes.
This is the same point that no longer exists between human and monkey. All right, this is the last group of people that we have before there is human
They're
and
not
there is
even
monkey.
monkeys. They're apes. They're lesser apes than great apes, and we're part of the great apes.
And
Yeah,
here's
Make apes great again.
but you know,
they're grapes.
here's the thing about it though, and where people get mistaken is they assume that modern like chimpanzees, for example, and humans are directly related, where it's not exactly the case. Each step along this process were different species. I mean, humans alone have gone through at least a dozen confirmed iterations before we have fallen on modern humans, hominids. Like the fact that we are able to find these though gives us insight because we are able to see the way in which our cranium has developed and shaped into the way that it has. A lot of so the second image on the photo gallery shows a few plaster cast models of these remains that were located. A lot of which are jaws, our craniums, and our pelvises, and from there we are able to measure the differences between that and anatomically modern humans, which is the proper term we use for the most recent 100,000 or so years, is anatomically modern humans.
Yeah.
We
That
have chins. Earlier humans didn't.
we have
Yeah.
chins, post-orbital compressions, occipital lobes. Like there's a lot that we have that these species don't have, and there's an entire genre of anthropologists called physical anthropologists that look at this specifically. Them, along with our colleagues, the primatologists, compare and contrast the data. They look at the cranial development, they look at the orbital sockets, they look at the jaw development, the bone structure, even bone mass. Like, we are able to tell that modern humans have some of the thinnest bone mass because we didn't need pure brute strength. We are the
We
weakest
had
great apes.
tools. We had technology.
We had
Yeah.
thumbs.
And speaking of technology, it's not just the bones that make these sites important. A number of these sites, I believe, specifically Makapan Valley, one of the sites here in South Africa, shows evidence for the domestication of fire over 800,000 years, from 1.8 million to 1 million years ago, where the proto-humans began to utilize fire as a tool.
That's like Homo erectus territory.
Uh,
Yeah.
so this is something that always frustrates me
Yep.
is
Yeah, we know.
my undergrad
Timelines.
program was very physical oriented because we had a lot of physical anthropologists that ran the department. And a lot of people think either Homo erectus or Homo habilis was the first hominid species to utilize tools, when that is incorrect. We have witnessed proto human species, we have witnessed similar species to humans utilizing tools, just not quite like flint napping as we might presume, but instead they would use stones, they would use sharpened rocks, they would use sticks. Like, they had tools that they used. It just.
Yeah, I will
Oh,
say,
that's right.
I,
Like the Odawan
yeah,
tools are like
Yes,
the
exactly.
oldest.
That's a great
Yeah.
example. The Odawan
I,
tools.
and,
Thank you.
and and I will say, well, that is true. 1.8 million years ago would be about the time of the migration of Homo erectus. So we have Homo erectus. We have a couple Australopithecus species. There's even an earlier species that has been found here, part of the Paranthropus group, all the way
Ooh.
back to 4.5 million years. So these set of valleys, these were now limestone blocks, were clearly um what's the word?
A hotbed for humanity. Just call
Yeah,
it what it
yeah,
is.
yeah, there it is. Yeah, I couldn't think of the term. It's clearly a hotbed for humanity. It's clearly a place where the steps on the evolutionary chain to the human race were regularly being forged, where they were regularly occurring. So we've got, Erectus and fire, Australopithecus, Paranthropus. There's a lot of different versions of what could have been human
There's
going on
also a
here.
debate on whether or not we should even call them human in any aspect. And honestly, I'm kind of for it. I'm kind of for calling them more human,
Well,
especially later hominids.
so this is the disagreement that I think I have with that argument. Is I agree that the hominid species is human, just different species of human as a species. Australopithecus is a connection and is something similar, but I think it is. There should be a differentiation between Australopithecus, Paranthropus,
Homo.
yeah, yeah, Homo. So it's just interesting, but there is one undisputed fact in this. This, along with the what is it? I'm trying to think of the nation where Lucy was found.
Ethiopia?
Ethiopia, and that part of Africa shows that these are the true origins of human species. We
Yeah.
originate from the African subcontinent before we started disseminating outwards, and we started seeing other species of humans adapt better to the cold, like Neanderthalensis.
Yeah.
Good old Neanderthals.
Which, fun fact, it's pronounced Neanderthal because it's found in the Tal region of Germany, I believe it is,
And
originally.
High German, when it was found, High German made the t sound with the th, and now they kind of don't, unless maybe there's still like an accent.
Oh,
Yes.
there's definitely still an accent. The if you look at a map of German accents across Europe, I guarantee you there will be an accent that does that. It's a
But
beautiful thing. But back to the matter at hand, which is
the
these
human matter.
skeletons here, the humans.
Which it creates an interesting situation. One, for the study and future understanding of human remains, and also just how we as a species evolved, how we changed from this proto species to what we identify as anatomically modern, and we do so by using references. And given the age and given the likelihood of fossilization, of preservation in place, it becomes increasingly rare. As archaeologists, anything older than a few thousand years old becomes increasingly more rare. To have things that are preserved for hundreds of thousands to millions of years requires the most Goldilocks golden opportunity for preservation. And you see that in certain locations, like in South Africa here and in Ethiopia, where it is dry, where these bones have calcified, where they have eventually become stone, because they resemble human bones, but they no longer maintain that same organic compound composures.
Yeah, we are looking at a map of about 1 to 4.5 million years right now with these sites, and it is very massive what we're looking at. And one of the funny things with this, if we go to modern times, is trying to preserve all of this. So these 5 sites, obviously all the quarries have been shut down, all the mining has been ordered to be stopped in the area surrounding these sites because it's now the purview of science. But what's interesting is there were originally 3 sites when this heritage site was first proposed to UNESCO. Now there are 5. And the way they're managed is somewhat interesting with effectively, even though each site has different needs, they share one committee, meaning that they are able to pull resources from one place, like if one becomes much more of a tourist attraction than another, to help protect a less touristy site, which is not something you really get to do. Like, you don't see, tourism at the Washington Monument helping to fund preservation of Mount Rushmore. And here you get to see that happen, which is a really interesting way of, at a national level, coordinating preservation. Of just, we can take the wealth of one site and use it to protect another.
It's such a limited resource too, and the fact that they were quarrying, one, allows you to get that deep, but also we don't know what may have accidentally gone boom during the process.
Yeah, because keep in mind, these people were looking for building materials when they found the bones.
That's true.
They were not looking for bones, which means that they were being as careful as you need to do to quarry large amounts of stone to build, not as careful as you need to be to do a scientific excavation.
It's part of what separates archaeologists from looters, by the way, is the careful documentation and processing of information. But there is an interesting theory that has been floated around numerous times among the spheres of this world, in that part of the theory as to why all of these remains are found so deep underground and in these systems is the fact that at some point these humans may have been inhabiting the caverns in which they had died or were buried, or it could be a signal of some level of careful interment given the location that they are at. So the theory is either that they were living in the caves and using that as a form of shelter before buildings, or that the people, the proto-humans, these species, understood some level of reverence for their dead and would put them in these cave systems to decompose out of sight and to be a little more, I don't know, culturally significant. It's an interesting thought process and experiment to try and discern cultural traditions from what is effectively a pile of bones, pile of fossilized bones.
But it's fun to see it get on the UNESCO World Heritage Site, and for pre-human activity to be considered key to humanity.
Well, yes, we had to have get here. We've had to got here somewhere, but this was an interesting site that popped up, and it somewhat tentatively ties in. We were just in South Africa for our most recent podcast, so staying in the region seemed like a good idea. And something like this is a teaser, as Cullen mentioned earlier today, that we will be doing a long-form podcast talking about proto-humans. So if you enjoyed this episode, or if it pissed you off and you don't believe humans evolved from anything, let us know your thoughts down below. We'd love to hear them. And let us know if there's a topic you would like to see us cover in the next one. Thanks for watching.